This series presents an interpretive framework for the Tabula Smaragdina, the Emerald Tablet. I use the earliest known Arabic version in translation, assuming a Greek original. The text refers to a worldview centered on a force capable of producing wonders, miracles. These passages are best understood if we assume that the text essentially follows the concepts of Anaxagoras, which themselves can be seen as a continuation of Parmenides' theory. Moreover, the text places greater emphasis here on the realms of above and below than we find in the surviving fragments of Anaxagoras. The tablet also employs certain additions and rephrasing that are familiar from the teachings of Plotinus. How are these philosophers connected to the text of the Emerald Tablet? And what is the meaning of the one mentioned twice in line 3? In the theories of Anaxagoras, the lower realm is described as the place where the dense and the moist and the cold and the dark came together, whereas above us there exist the rare and the hot and the dry. The Nous, mind, orchestrates this arrangement by setting our surroundings into rotation. Change is conceptualized as separation, increasing the proportion of the desired qualities seeds while reducing the undesired ones. By separating of the bad seeds, an object can be transformed into a higher quality state, moving toward the good. Separation brings order into the surroundings. Without it, elements would collapse back into a chaotic mixture. The higher regions are associated with superior qualities. The Nous is the finest of all things and the purest, suggesting that it is omnipresent, but the highest region might be its ultimate domain. As brightness dominates higher spaces, the Nous could be seen as the light of all lights, dispelling the obscurity of chaos. While material entities vary, mind is all alike, both the greater and the smaller quantities of it, indicating that it is akin to a force field. The Anaxagorian worldview is predominantly mechanistic. It lacks any spiritual entities. It encompasses only the material world and an invisible force, Nous, that organizes its surroundings. Plotinus further developed this idea, positing the one as the single origin of everything, omnipresent yet simple and unstructured, unlike the Nous, with its infinite realm of Platonic forms and, with it, creativity. Anaxagoras wrote, "Mind controls all things that have soul." The term used here is psyche, which can mean both soul and life. In ancient thought, anything capable of change was considered alive. Therefore, this can be interpreted to mean that the Nous governs everything that is capable of change. The text of the tablet can be understood as deriving primarily from a follower of Anaxagoras, though it also includes rephrasing and minor additions influenced by theories known from Plotinus. It describes two distinct realms. The highest is the realm of perfection, that of the Nous, or the One. The lower is the material world. The second line states that from the human material world, the qualities and powers of the highest realm can be reached so that these qualities can be made manifest in the lower material realm. The following line states that this is how the wonders of the One occur. And why? Because all things were created by the One, and because the world functions within a unified order. The One described here cannot be identified with Parmenides' One, since for him the entire world, being itself, was one. Nor is it Plotinus' One. In Plotinus' theories, the One is linked to the good and the beautiful, but not to miracles. Plotinus' goal was to unite with the One and he would not have understood why anyone would wish to bring this quality into the world of dust and dirt, especially since for him the One was already everywhere and in everything. No concept of governance is attached to Plotinus's One. The phrase by one governance or arrangement might instead be read as introducing the operations that follow. Yet governance is also attributed to the Nous, and we find almost the same expression in Anaxagoras, ento any kosmo, in one word order. Since the word kosmos originally means order. The tablet follows Anaxagoras precisely. It distinguishes between the material world and the force capable of governing it, the Nous, here called the One. Yet the world operates within a single unified system. How does the tablet's One operate? According to Anaxagoras, the material world, by its very nature, would collapse into a chaotic mess, a formless mixture. In thermodynamic terms, systems tend toward the more probable state of greater disorder, toward higher entropy. The Nous, which the tablet identifies with the One, acts instead like a force field that increases a particular kind of order. This order has two defining aspects. First, ever greater harmony, where the parts do not conflict but support one another. Second, ever greater variety. A homogeneous system built from identical elements can only display a rigid, quantitative power, like a single vector. By contrast, diverse systems can encompass different qualities, like a multidimensional space spanned by vectors, so long as they spring from one origin. In the tablet's perspective, higher quality is represented by a higher harmonic variety. This is when we feel that things go better. Yet the higher the level, the more unlikely its existence becomes, appearing increasingly as a wonder, miracle. When the One, the Nous, operates more strongly in a given environment, it begins to coordinate and organize things into a higher quality system. Out of the chaotic disintegration below, everything is gradually elevated toward higher levels, toward the perfection of the One. The following lines of the tablet refer to the creation of an object, a stone, capable of receiving and amplifying this higher force. According to Anaxagoras, during the creation of the world, the dense elements descended, thus stones are the lowest. The tablet argues that the highest domain of the One can be reached through the lowest, the stone, bringing the higher quality of the above down into the human world. The tablet refers to concrete operations to create and activate this specific stone. The next part examines how, in later alchemical writings, the philosopher's stone was cloaked in layers of symbols and secrecy, a mystery that promised not only knowledge but transformation itself.